Very warm greetings to the learners. This is Dr. Meenakshi. You remember in control chart for variables, we have learned that a separate variable chart is required for each quality characteristics. However, if a manufacturer specifies more than one, let's say 10 measurable quality characteristics for its products, it becomes impracticable and uneconomical to construct 10 control charts. So in such situations, we use control charts for attributes which provide overall information about the quality of the product. So let's understand first what is an attribute. Basically, an attribute is a quality, characteristic or feature of an object. For example, a color, shape, size, what it feels like, where is it located, what it is used for. So this is how we define an attribute of an object. In quality control, attributes refer to those quality characteristics which classify the items or units into one of the two classes. That is, either they are conforming or non-conforming, defective or non-defective, good or bad. So, there are many situations in which numerical measurement is not possible. For example, the number of failures in a production run, number of defects in a laptop, mobile, furniture, fabrics, etc. So in such situations, we classify the items into one of the two categories. Now, there are two types of attributes. First, where the numerical measurement of quality characteristics are not possible. Right? For example, color, scratches, damages, missing parts, etc. And the second one is where the numerical measurement of the quality characteristics are possible and items are classified as defective or non-defective on the basis of inspection. Now for the inspection of the attributes, actual measurements are not taken, but the number of defective items or defectives or number of defects in the item is counted. The size of the defect and its location is not important. Items are inspected and either accepted or rejected. There are different types of control charts for the attributes for different situations. As you can see in the figure I have prepared for you. The control chart for attributes are classified into two groups. First is control chart for defectives and the second is control chart for defects. The control chart for defectives are further classified into control chart for fraction defective, that is also called as a P chart, and control chart for number of defectives, that is NP chart. Now both these control chart for defectives are based on the binomial distribution. This control chart for defects, it is further classified into two. First is the control chart for number of defects, that is the C chart, and the control chart for the number of defects, that is defects per unit, that is the U chart. And this control chart for defect is basically based on the Poisson's distribution. Right. So in this series, we are going to talk about all these types of control charts for attributes. So first, beginning with the control chart for defectives, that is the control chart for fraction defective and number of defectives NP chart. So we are going to pick first the fraction defective P chart, that is the control chart for defectives. So before moving further ahead, this is the formula. These are the formulas which we are going to use for the control chart for fraction defectives, that is a P chart. Here your central line is also called as P bar here in the P chart. Upper control line is given by the formula P bar plus 3 times sigma P. Now what is this sigma P? This is basically the square root of your P bar into 1 minus P bar upon N. So what are these values? I'm going to discuss all this with the help of example in an Excel sheet. So therefore, the P chart is basically applied to control the fraction or proportion defective in the process. So in this session we will explore how to prepare a control chart for the fraction defective, that is the P chart, in this Excel spreadsheet using this specific problem which I have taken, in which we have 30 sampled boxes, and out of those 30 sampled boxes there are 50 tubes in the box, and out of those 50 tubes there are certain leaky tubes there, and we have to find out basically here what is the fraction or the proportion of the defectives in the process. And for that purpose, the first thing is we have to first of all find out the fraction defective. So first thing what we'll do, we'll find a fraction defective, and you can also call it as small p. Okay, so fraction defective, how it is found? It is found with the help of a formula in which we will take the value of number of leaky tubes, that is this one, divided by the total number of tubes inspected. So how many tubes are being inspected? That is 50 tubes. So this gives us the fraction defective value, small p, and if we click here we'll get the values for rest of the sample also. After finding out the fraction defective value, what we are going to do, we are going to find out the P bar value. And you know what is P bar value? P bar is basically the average of the fraction, this fraction defective. How can we find the average of the fraction defective? There are two ways. Either you write down the formula here for simply the average of your fraction defectives. You have to select all the values here, and then you have to just go to the formulas and you have to find the average. So either you can do this thing, you can write the average here, or the second thing is that with which you can find out the value of what we are going to find out here, that is the average fraction defective. Average fraction defective, that is your P bar, and this is also called as your central line or CL, right? So you can also do it with the help of this formula, where you can find out first the sum of this value, your fraction defective value. So again I'll just write the auto sum. Now I got the sum value, and it will be divided by the total number of the sample. Now what is my total number of sample? You can see from this point, that is 30. So I'll write it somewhere here. Your total sample value is 30. Okay, so this was the average which I tried to calculate, and this is the value of the sum. Fine. So what we'll do here, I'm going to put a formula sign. This value divided by the total number of your sample. Let's see what we have got. You can see this is the same value which has been obtained when we took the direct formula for averages. Okay, so here I have got the value. What we are going to do now, we are going to put a dollar sign. Okay, and that will be applied for the rest of the sample. After finding out the P bar value, what we are going to do, we are going to find out the value of upper control limit and the lower control limit. As you very well remember, the formula for upper control limit is P bar plus 3 times the square root of P bar into 1 minus P bar upon N. So I'm just going to write down the upper control limit and lower control limit titles here, and the formula for upper control limit is P bar. What is P bar here? This value plus 3 times 3 into square root up. And now here how we are going to write the square root? SQRT here, because this is Excel, formulas has been incorporated like this. Square root for P bar into 1 minus P bar. So it will be written like this. P bar is again your this value into 1 minus your P bar bracket close, divided by the total number of tubes in the box, right? So this way we got the value of your upper control limit. Before moving ahead, very quickly I'm going to do what? I'm going to put a $sign so that we can get values for rest of the sample. Okay, fine. Now for a lower control limit, again similar formula, only exception is that it was addition in control of upper control limit. In lower control limit it will be the difference between the two. So it will be P bar again minus 3 into square root value of P bar into 1 minus P bar divided by the total number of tubes. Fine. Let's see. So this is the value for lower control limit. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a $sign here. I'm going to put a $sign here so that we'll get a value for rest of the samples. So very quickly selecting these two together and then dragging the cursor down. So this comes the value for your upper control and lower control limit. Now with the help of these four values we are going to prepare the line graph. Insert line graph, and here comes your line graph values. I'll just drag it a bit here and expand it a little. Now as you can see from this graph, the values that have been used to prepare the graph for upper control, lower control limit values, the fraction defective P bar value limit and the fraction defective value limit. Now here the lower control limit values are in negative, and you can see they are representing here. So it's a rule, if we have a negative value we replace it by 0. So what we'll do, we'll replace the value of your lower control limit because it's already negative by 0. Right, now you can see how your chart is now looking. I'll just reset the chart a bit. Okay, so this is how you prepare the construction of P chart is undertaken, how you prepare a fraction defectives in a given process, in a given problem. You can see there is no point here which is actually exceeding the upper control or the lower control limit. So you can very well say that all the points lie between in the upper and the lower control limits, and we can have a process of manufacturing tubes which are under the statistical control with respect to the fraction defective, and that proves that there is no need to revise the control limit. So in this session today we explored what is the concept of a control chart for attributes, what are basically attributes, what are the different types of attributes, and among the types of attributes we picked the first type of attribute today for discussion, that is your control chart for fraction defective, that is the P chart. I hope the concept has been clear to you, and in the next coming sessions we'll try to explore if there are certain points which are exceeding the upper control or the lower control limits, how we are going to revise those control charts. So thank you very much and have a good learning time.